I'm still mad at you. I ain't forgotten. He's sitting up here all mad. I should be the one that's mad. Just a little while ago, we talking about how I showed him this Joker trailer, and he had no reaction at all. Just looked at me like, what you play that for? What you want? What am I supposed to feel? Well, Martin, being that you love comic books so much, I thought you would at least feel something, but Martin just numb as hell sitting over there.
I'm Batman.
Where does he get those wonderful toys?
Me explains. It's the classic black tea with the white logo.
Oh my God.
The toasted goodness has spread all over your body. Maybe we'll make another story with that colored logo right there. More of a sci-fi feel this time.
I would get my tickets now.
I would get your tickets now. We're going to be in Toronto, and that's going to be at the Adelaide Hall. Doors open at 6 p.m., and we start the show at 7. And that show is going to consist of a full night of comedy, games, and music. Recently, your boy actually has me looking at comic books and comic book movies in very much a different way.
And superpowers, dude. I don't even know how to pee in this thing.
This movie I adored for most parts in it. Then, we already had a review. Yeah. Didn't love it, but I thought it was really great. Mm-hmm. And y'all know me, the Marvel bitch that I am. It's hard to say that. It's hard to come out and say that DC actually put out something good. I held out as long as I could. Because you know me, I'm Corey Coleman. Man of conflict and denial.
So a hypocrite, basically.
Pretty much, man. Yeah. I think the way I said it was more poetic, but we want to get right to the point. Yeah, I sit up here and I shun my nerdy past. Mm-hmm. Yet you shun your nerdy past, but you keep calling yourself a self-proclaimed Marvel bitch. Today, all that's gonna change. All that. Now I've been giving some good reviews to some of these things that DC's been doing.
Sure.
But everybody's been talking about, I see the reluctance on your face and hear it in your voice. You don't want to do this. It pains you to do that. It hurts to do it. Well, today, I'm going to give DC not only the respect that they deserve, but in the process, oh God, it hurts. And you better save this because this probably won't ever happen again. But I'm going to say why they're probably more important than Marvel. And Marvel would not even be where they are today if it weren't for those two big-ass letters, DNC. Mm-hmm. I've never hated DC. I never have. I've just been very hurt because they've been much better than what they did lately, or what they have been doing lately. Up until most recently. But what they've been doing, y'all have been better than that. You've been so much better than that. And that's the only reason why I had to be as tough on them as I was, because I was just being, it was out of love, tough love. Mm-hmm. Sure, Marvel has created something incredible. That's no doubt. With comic book movies, we've never seen anything like this before. What is it? 22 movies within 11 years?
Yeah.
Yep. To come to this glorious conclusion that people are crashing the internet over, called Endgame. But I have to say, way before this ever happened, way before we got to this point, way before that, we have to talk about what made that possible. Yes, a Marvel movie. What made that possible? And we have to talk about what creative innovations DC laid down for that to happen, and why, now that they're coming back around to being the innovators that they were a long time ago.
Are we really ready to go that far?
I'm ready to go that far.
All right.
You should know this.
I'm not there yet.
Cinematically, we ain't covering all history of comic books. We talking cinematically.
Exactly.
This all started back when DC made us believe a man could fly.
I believe I can fly.
They gave us R. Kelly? No, you don't. No, they did not give us. They did not give us an alleged.
Space Jam is a Warner Brothers property.
It is. No, we are talking about the 1977. Well, need I really say the name?
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You got me.
You got me.
Who's got you?
Who's got you?
She's like, Martin. Whose movie is this?
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
By hurting the people you care for.
And he's like, damn, that hurts me already. Shit doesn't words. But that's the 1977 Richard Donner Superman. Superman, and a lot of people still don't realize this now that a lot of younger people, now that we're, in this age where comic book movies are mainstreaming all over the place, you got to understand that Superman 1977 is the first big blockbuster superhero movie.
Right.
I often talk about Black Panther, but Black Panther was repeating what Superman had done in 1977.
In what way? I'm curious.
It brought people out to see the movie who would not normally be into a I would say superhero movie now, but back then, normally people who wouldn't be into superheroes that much.
It brought it to the mainstream.
It brought it to the mainstream. Yeah. My mother, I talk about how much she loves Black Panther, but my mother took the family. My dad, I ain't seen that shit. But my mother, she took the family and the neighbors brought their kids. And we all went to the drive-in
To see Superman.
And she could not stop talking about Superman
Uh-huh.
and how handsome that man playing Superman was, Christopher Reeves. And it had big name actors in there,
Oh, yeah.
like
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
This was the first thing that put, cinematically at least, superheroes into the mainstream. And it could be argued that it also just put superheroes in general into the mainstream for a lot of people. Like I said, my mother, superheroes were kid stuff for her, but she loved this. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you.
I know what your mama called me.
You're like, I know what your mama like too. You're like, where your mama at right now? You're like, he might be like, boy, I'm gonna be your daddy. That kind of led to resurgence on TV for adults, man.
Oh, every time there's a big blockbuster superhero movie, it would always lead to a resurgence on TV, and especially with cartoons.
But this one, again, we're talking about the difference between kid stuff and more mainstream. Like I remember my neighbor every Friday, he made us shut up. We couldn't run around the house making noise because he had to watch Bill Bixby as the Hulk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had to watch him, because everybody loved that show back then.
Yeah, sure did.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
He was serious. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And everything was going good. Adults were.
What you see that next scene, him going, so what you gonna do?
And then next thing you see this. No, wait a minute, I was just playing. No. A lot of people are complaining like, man, superhero movies is too dark and too serious. Where's the fun? What happened, man, when people just could have a good time? Yeah, believe it or not, there was a time when people couldn't wait for that first time a movie was daring to be dark with a superhero. Because it's funny, man, while comic book fans were enjoying a whole new resurgence of adult storytelling in comics with their superheroes like The Dark Knight Returns, mainstream people were like, oh man, the Batman I remember, he was still doing the Watusi. He was still out there doing the bat dance. I love this. You're like, I'm on Batman.
King Tut.
And comic book fans were just like, why? Why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want that? Tim Burton's like, you know what, don't worry. I got y'all. I'm with y'all on this, and I got enough clout to where I can do Batman like he should be done these days. And that's when we had Batman 1989. And this is a DC property, man. And the reason why this is so important right here, because, watch a little bit of this.
And what do you do for a living?
Knock motherfuckers out. putting them in the trash where they need to be. The reason why this is so important, because again, who was the one that brought this tone to superhero movies on screen that we never seen before?
Sure.
This gothic, dark tone. It was DC with Batman, bringing darkness to these characters that were never seen before, and bringing it back into the mainstream. It helped that they again. We had DC repeating a successful formula, what they did before. You know, they had not only more mature storytelling, but they had big name actors who you thought would never be in a comic book movie.
I'm Batman. Get those wonderful toys.
I'm cut.
Falls on ass.
He gets tangled up in a rope.
Just bleeding on people.
I should have used the door.
You had Jack Nicholson as the Joker, who everybody, thought not only would he not appear in a comic book movie because he was such a serious actor, but they're like, damn, he's perfect for that. DC brought that back. DC did that, man. A lot of the things that you see happening with dark comic books today, or dark comic book movies, they were the ones to do it, man. At least at that time, that were going way darker than anything Superman had done.
And there was no other competition, but there was such a clamoring to have these movies done this way. And yeah, they were the first ones to get out there and reap the rewards of going like, oh, people actually do like it when you do it this way.
Yeah.
A lot. We can make a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Taking this stuff seriously.
Yeah, he created something that still has a lasting impression on
Absolutely.
Batman today.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, then Danny Elfman. Yeah, Danny Elfman's theme song. Say what you will, and some people still say, man, hell with all these other Batman. Michael Keaton's still mine. Not me.
No, they can say that.
He couldn't even move his head. How y'all gonna say that?
He looked good standing still, man. He's very intimidating when he didn't move.
Every time you fight somebody like you doing a robot.
And when the time comes, he can rip that mask off like gelatin.
He sure did, yeah. One time a villain didn't do that shit. I see you, bitch. And I remember back then it was such a phenomenon that even before the movie came out, Batman was just all of a sudden cool. People didn't even read comic books. It was just cool for them. So many dudes in my neighborhood went to the barbershop and got that bat symbol cut in their head. It got to a point where they're like, damn, we want you to go dark, but not this goddamn dark Tim Burton. Come on, man. Yeah. He took it to a point where DC, what they had built, they kind of like destroyed themselves. That's Tim Burton's Penguin from Batman Returns, which was we always say, and you say all the time, that's just a Tim Burton movie. They ain't even.
Oh,
Batman.
yeah, it's a Tim Burton movie. With Batman just is giving a cameo appearance in it.
It really is.
It's not the Penguin.
This horrible mutant right here.
Yeah.
That was so horrifying that McDonald's said, "Man, get this out of Happy Meals." Kids will open up Happy Meals, anything but happy.
Spraying that green bile down his face.
Yeah, you might do a fillet of fish in the bile so you down your mouth.
Raw filet of fish. Things were so bad that they just tore everything down that they created and went back to making like pretty much the 60s Batman style goofiness.
And the only man who can stop them. Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
But did you see that head?
Exactly. Well, maybe he's just trying to see around.
No, he's always had that.
No, we made fun of him for that all the time.
Bundle up, boys. There's a storm coming.
What's the chilling sound of your doom?
That's just the worst movie in the world.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I've never ever been so mad as I was watching that movie.
Oh, I remember. You were dressed up like Dr. Freeze too.
Well, I did that for the show.
Yeah, I know.
But wow.
But you actually tried to freeze people.
Don't
go
almost,
see this. Save your money.
DC's influence over cinema with superheroes was so big at the time that they even brought things down with them when this movie did bad.
Right.
Shit, if DC gonna fuck up, then nobody can succeed. And having big stars in it like George Clooney, it kind of made superhero things a little bit. I mean, people still did them, but it kind of,
Well, they had been so dominant with all these movies, and this brought them down to where they shut down production on Batman and everything.
Yep.
That kind of left that vacuum open for Marvel to slip in.
That's right.
Yep. But it was also DC that learned from their lesson and went back to basics with what they had done with Batman, what they had done with Superman. You could almost say they are responsible for creating the resurgence that we saw with comic book movies. Now, maybe not, they say, no, don't go as dark. Don't go Tim Burton dark. But, let's at least go a little bit tonally, a little bit dark, but more complex and mature with the storytelling.
My parents deserve justice. I cannot let that pass. If you make yourself more than just a man, a legend.
And they did do that with the movies that followed with this, even some of the bad ones. But, this is 2005, and this is when we got Batman Begins. They went back, took it seriously. They got some big name actors in there who were able to who were able to bring that serious tone to this. Michael Caine and Michael Caine do anything for a change.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman,
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson, yeah, Christian Bale. Even though Christian Bale was,
this is what put him on the map.
This is one of the things that put him on the map. He was already kind of,
he was already kind of
up there.
Psycho and all kinds of other movies.
In fact, he's one of the reasons why people were so excited about this.
Method actor.
Yeah,
he's actually Batman. He actually trained around the world.
No, he had somebody kill his parents.
And plus, they took it from some good source material, sort of like what Tim Burton's Batman did with The Dark Knight Returns. This did with took some influences from Year One. Not completely, but they took some small hints and influences from Year One. But let's just compare this to what Marvel was doing at the time. In 2005, what was Marvel doing? They were doing this.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah, I wish we couldn't. But
to be fair, that was Fox doing that.
But no, I know it wasn't Marvel's
Marvel proper.
It wasn't Marvel's movie, but it was a Marvel property that we had at the time.
Right.
And that was Fox that was doing that. Because we all know that at one point Marvel had a big garage sale because they were about to get kicked out the house. Had a yard sale, sold everything. So because in 1995 when they sold their stuff, DC was, they were the ones who at least had some, maybe not creating a universe, but they were somewhat coherent in we are overseeing projects in-house that we want to do cool things with. Not like over at Universal where they did this.
My son is unique.
Yeah, you can say that. In a way, that's Ang Lee's fever dream, the Hulk. These are people, even with him trying to be serious, he still made this incredibly goofy.
Yeah.
So you see some of the things that was going on with Marvel, at least Marvel properties, and maybe not Marvel proper. But
sure. But by that time, they had been successful with the X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yeah. No, they were. And you know what? And thinking about that, I would still say though that they were probably able. Which one came out? When did X-Men come out?
X-Men was first.
Was X-Men?
because it went Blade, X-Men, Spider-Man.
They had Batman to thank for that shit. Put it out there right now. We know that led to even riskier filmmaking. That's all Christopher Nolan's vision too. Just like Superman was Richard Donner's.
Yeah.
Batman was Tim Burton's. This is all Christopher Nolan's vision. And they trusted him to go even further with that, just making pretty much not even a Batman movie, a heist film with a clown pulling the heist. Of course, that led to the 2008's The Dark Knight, which is still one of the best movies, not superhero movies, but one of the best movies I've ever seen. Think about what's happening with even if it's not even Marvel is doing this, but Marvel properties are doing something now that 20th Century Fox was going out on a limb to do. And before they did that with Marvel properties, DC was the one willing to take the risk. And willing to take the risk with one of the, forget it being a comic book movie, it's probably one of the hardest adaptations to ever attempt.
Watchmen, one of us died tonight. Maybe someone's picking off costumed heroes.
And that's the thing. We've had R-rated properties. I mean, The Punisher came out years ago, but we're talking about, like caped superheroes, straight up the definition of superheroes. Martin, I might be wrong. Please tell me, but I think they, bringing a rated R superhero movie like this to the screen Have they ever done that before?
Outside of the Punisher?
See, the Punisher is just a vigilante thing. I'm talking about caped superheroes with the names and everything,
No, I don't suppose.
And I'm trying to think,
Marvel done with Blade, but most people didn't even realize that was a comic book adaptation.
Yeah.
That was,
But that does
so
count,
disassociated with it.
No, Blade counts as a comic book movie, but as a superhero movie,
Mystery Men?
Mystery Man was PG or PG-13.
It just had incredibly disturbing stuff in it.
Yeah,
it seemed
maybe
like
it should have been rated R.
Captain Awesome, that was his name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, as far as Cape Crusaders go, was anybody doing that? And I don't know. I think DC was one of the first to actually do it. They did what a lot of executives would say don't do, which is take all the fun out of superheroes.
Yeah.
And make us and do like a college dissertation about them too.
Yeah. Well, and we don't want to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it was a success, and it's one of the movies that I actually admire. I'm like you, I don't love it, but there are parts of it I admire even more than I did back in the day.
Much better ending, I'd say that.
Yeah, than the original. I'm looking at some of the things that happened later. You had like, they went on and continued to try to do these visionary stories with superheroes, especially with Superman. You had Superman Returns. Who was the director that did that? Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
Bryan Singer, bringing in again these big names, and then we got Zack Snyder, who I guess because of association with Watchmen did Man of Steel. Man of Steel, I don't think it's a great film, but again, before they tried to do this whole thing, pushing to be like Marvel, I thought Man of Steel was really a unique vision of Zack Snyder's.
Yes, and it started out pretty good, I thought.
I did too. Yeah.
It just lost its way.
Even Superman Returns, I thought had some good stuff in it, but I think that's a weak ass movie. But it's
a boring film.
That's what it is.
I'm not bored, but I like it quite a bit.
But they had mixed critical success. I mean, I think they both were like box office success.
Yeah, I think they didn't make as much as they wanted them to, but yeah, they had both kind of like a mixed critical reception and mixed box office.
Yeah, they're admirable films, man.
Sure.
Then Marvel happened.
Iron Man.
Iron Man. Yeah. Iron Man happened.
Iron Man changed everything.
And then Iron Man happened. Yeah, he changed everything, but it really changed. I would even say that Iron Man wasn't even the big thing that changed it. It was when everybody sat back and they said, we're going to wait and see what those Avengers do.
We never could.
And when Avengers was a success, that's when DC just stopped all innovation. And just said, I want to be like them. It was
how could we do that?
Yeah. And I've been on DC's ass ever since.
Deservedly so.
And exactly, man, because they were not innovators, they were followers to a fault, and they were failures. I'm sure they made some money, but critically they were complete failures. And this wasn't just the critics that were criticizing. Now the audience was starting to see it, and when they when they got to their Avengers, the one that was supposed to make the most money, it made the least money. I'm happy to see that now that things are turning around, thanks to, as we said, Shazam, but even before that, whether you like Aquaman or not, something different that worked for them. I really like Wonder Woman, so I'm glad that things are turning around for them. When did they start doing this to make this a success? When they stopped standing behind Marvel, doing everything they do, trying
to copy off their paper.
Yeah, no.
What you get for number 5?
Get out of here. Standing behind him, acting like a little kid, doing everything Daddy does. All because some executive who was creatively bankrupt and had no creative soul at all gave you a blueprint and forced you to do everything that they were doing until you finally grew the up and started doing your own thing. That's when we start getting what we're getting right here. And by the way, it came around full circle for them. They even put it out there. They're like, yeah, we ain't doing that shit no more.
Yeah, that's enough of that.
We ain't doing that. You know what? A universe is hard.
Who needs it?
Yeah, it's hard and it costs a lot of money, man. You take a lot of maintenance.
You got to plan this shit for years.
Yeah. That's why I was saying Joker is potentially, we haven't seen it yet, but Joker is potentially something that will actually bring this back around even further to innovation. And you better hope this movie does well, because if it does, what we've seen, the best parts of DC that we just mentioned, you might see a whole new renaissance of storytelling that you don't see anybody else making like DC used to do. You might see that all over again. You might see things that Marvel's not even doing.
True.
I like the idea of having, all right, Marvel's doing their thing, it's bright, it's colorful, it's fun. It might maybe sometimes it gets serious, but I would love to. I love that 20th Century Fox is doing stuff that's rated R. You know, these standalone stories. Yeah. Now that Fox got that mouse up their ass, people looking at a Fox right now. Is that a mouse in your ass? Yeah. You know, now that that's happening, who's going to be the one who's probably going to go out and do the things that Fox used to do? Probably going to be DC.
Yeah.
If they can follow what they're doing right here, and if it works for them. What are some things that they've put out, graphic novels and stories that they put out that can actually be done now?
That's the thing. That's what I'm most excited about. If the Joker proves to be a success and they say, hey, we can make a rated R film or something that's way more mature, we can do our Elseworlds graphic novels and do like totally different types of interpretation of our most famous characters. For example, just thinking off right off the bat, since Superman seems to be taking a break right now, they really don't know what to do with that character. Why not introduce a very, very different take on Superman? One of my favorite interpretations is Superman Red Sun, where it's a period piece set in the 1950s, where instead of Superman landing in Kansas, he lands in the Soviet-controlled Ukraine. And he's just a soldier of the state. He's a follower of Joseph Stalin to the point where he actually takes control of the country, where the Soviet Union becomes the superpower on the planet, and where, you know, the quote-unquote hero of the graphic novel, although they're kind of, Superman's somewhat heroic, one of them is like Lex Luthor leading the United States.
They could still do that and have like even kids like it.
Oh, absolutely.
But this would be such a good deep story to tell that just, you know, it's not a kid type story.
Yeah.
Batman offshoots. Which is why I say they don't have to be connected to anything. They can even be completely different Batmans you've never seen before.
Exactly.
One of my favorite ones is Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. DC has been lately just kind of doing the most daring storytelling for their straight to video animated features.
There's a butcher in this town preying on poor women, and the Gotham police stand twiddling their thumbs.
This is Batman if he was in 18th century or Victorian age,
1900s.
Or,
excuse me, 19th century. Yes.
And he's Victorian age Batman, where he's trying to stop Jack the Ripper, who might be the Joker. I would love to see if they could do, if the time ever came around, they could do like a Batman period piece for the movies.
One that I could think of is probably Kingdom Come, since you messed up with your Justice League film. Why don't we see a darker version of the Justice League where all these heroes?
If you want to do dark, then go with Kingdom Come.
Yeah. That's what's worked for them. It's like, hey, this is kind of where we've excelled, and now we can see older versions of these characters. Hey, you can even bring back older actors, and that's the other thing I wanted to bring up too, is that these can be one-off movies. You can cast really however you want for these roles. Yeah, you only have one film to do. You can bring back Michael Keaton to do that, or you can bring back Christian Bale.
Man, after
something
seeing him
like
in
that.
Dumbo, I don't want to see that.
But he's made.
I don't even want to see him again.
Well, he has made a lot of good movies since then, but that
Since
would be
Dumbo.
Before that, yeah, I think he has. Yeah, Spotlight and before then. Okay.
Once again,
it came out 2 weeks ago.
Dumbo, yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think you're picking apart my words, but yes, before Dumbo, he's made a lot of good films before. Yeah, I know, it's fun.
If you want to bring it back in something that's a little more exciting, and maybe you want to skew younger with it, you can go for Injustice.
Yes, most recently, which has been in the news.
The video game.
And comic book series.
And it was a comic book series. But it was a video game first.
It was a video game first, and then in between that and Injustice 2, they had a prequel series for 5 years. But the whole concept is Superman's become a tyrant after the destruction of Metropolis in the hands of the Joker. Batman's leading this resistance movement, and it kind of involves alternate takes on all these superheroes.
Right.
Superman's behind bars. How our greatest hero became our greatest threat.
This is something where that was a fighting game too.
It was a fighting game, yeah, and Injustice 2 had one of the best DC stories of the time in terms of compared to the movies. It did some really exciting things.
What if you wanted to do Swamp Thing? Mm-hmm. Because at one time they did have a Swamp Thing movie. It's kind of a cult classic. This used to come on HBO when I was a kid all the time.
I used to watch it all the time.
You just clapped the car.
What was that?
Get your ass out the car. Yeah, he threw him like Hulk threw that bear. You hear that dude? Yeah, man, I was more of a cult classic B movie with almost a comedy in a way.
Yeah, except it has something gruesome in it.
Yeah, no, it
Well, it's
did.
Wes Craven.
Oh, no, that's right.
He directed
that's
the
right,
first one.
Yeah, hard
when they
director.
Turn that one dude into sort of a swamp thing.
Yeah.
That was messed up.
You know what they wanted to do horror with that. You know,
That's what they're doing for their DC All Access service. They're making a Swamp Thing series.
Yeah.
Which, and if they go in
Another
the
one.
same direction of Doom Patrol, then I'm all for that.
you know, what if they actually want to do a cyberpunk sci-fi film? You know, with Batman Beyond. Edge it up a little bit.
Yeah, it was even darker than the original animated series. And
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite interpretations of Batman, where you have, and it's a sequel to that series, you bring back a bunch of 70-year-old Bruce Wayne who has to pass on the mantle, and you also deal with some of his former rogues. You know, I think Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, I think, is one of the best animated movies that they have. So I would love to see a live-action adaptation of that.
I hope they got better dance moves. They still doing the twist. You know?
It's retro.
Yeah.
Retro, yeah. Always thought Plastic Man would be a great one, which we've seen a lot of times, but we have yet to see on the big screen. But now, who is this over here, man?
Well, there used to be a Plastic Man show, a cartoon. I would watch it in the daytimes, but it was in between it was bumpers with a guy in a plastic, like a live action Plastic Man guy who would talk in between.
Did he have a
the episodes.
stretch?
No. No, he didn't.
That's too bad.
You had to do it on there to have him stretch, man.
With that Joker trailer that you showed, I think, all right, I'd like to see this, come out, be successful, and then a sequel where we're seeing Batman in it. But everything, the whole movie is from the Joker's perspective. Batman is there, but we're seeing it from the Joker's perspective. And in that same vein, I'd like to see a Robin movie. But, Batman's in it, but we focus more on his life, living with this weird billionaire who's gone all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And then his whole discovery of who he is and his life, starting out as Robin, just completely from his point of view.
Yeah.
And then as far as these stories that have been done in comics, now they got a successful Wonder Woman and Aquaman. I'd love to see Flashpoint, because a big part of that is the war between the two of them having an affair and her cutting off Mira's head, and then them going to war with each other, the Amazonians and the Amazons and the Atlanteans.
They had actually talked about doing. If you don't know what Flashpoint is the Flash. It's a story where he actually messes up the world by going too fast or something. And they were talking about
Changes time.
Yeah, they were talking about doing that for he changes time. They were talking about doing that for the current movies at one time.
That was supposed to be the Flash film, apparently.
Yeah.
The first one, which is like, no,
Yeah,
that's
you
like your.
don't start out with
I know,
that.
exactly. Yeah, it's like your third movie in the trilogy to cap it off. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were talking about now using that to go in and kind of correct all the things they messed up on.
Oh no, they're gonna try to pull an X-Men.
Yeah. It's like
Well,
go
we
back
gotta,
in time.
we gotta restart the timeline three different
That's
times.
exactly what they were trying to do. Anyway, that's it, man. Like I said, you may never see this again. But I dare say that Marvel is where they are because DC paved the way for them. And if they didn't exactly pave the way for them, they were far ahead of them on a lot of things throughout time. So that's me giving my respect. Let it be known right now that I do not hate DC. I have much respect for them.
Well, if for any extended period of time Marvel starts to coast, DC always has the opportunity to come in and overtake them.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you really want to be my hero, then hit that subscribe button. And if you really love what we do, check out our main site, doubletoasted.com. Over there, you'll find the long-form version of this video uncensored, along with the live stream that we do almost every night of the week. Support us at dtmerch.com. And remember to always stay toasty.